Now that Kamala is confirmed as a mutant in the MCU, what does that mean for the franchise? Hello there! You're listening to the Pinoy MCU Fan, a bunk collective Filipino podcast where I get to talk about everything and anything Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm your host, Jim. Welcome back, everyone. How are you guys doing? So, again, apologies. My apologies for the delay in releasing this episode. I was so swamped with essays and presentation deadlines for the past few days. But I got some free time on my hands now, so yay, recording time, y'all. And also shout out to my editor din pala, Shams from Two Cents with Esther and Marta podcast. I did a Multiverse of Madness episode with them a few months ago and it was super fun. So please check it out, you guys. I will link it down below in the description box. So yeah, thank you to Shams because she edits my episodes, which helps me a lot with the production of the Pinoy NC Fan podcast. So yeah, life update as well. I am in graduate school. I'm taking my master's in communication at one of the universities here in the Philippines. Yes. And so far, my graduate classes have been so much fun because we get to talk about a bunch of stuff related to our studies. I actually did my communication theory presentation using the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU as an example. It was super fun. My classes have been super fun. And I'm actually learning a lot and adjusting better in graduate school because of the MCU. And of course, BTS too, kasi BTS Army ako. Yeah, so basically me being a fangirl is helping me learn a lot in graduate school. So speaking of being a fangirl, this episode is going to be about the OG Avengers Super People fan and the ultimate Captain Marvel fan, Miss Kamala Khan. Yes, you guys, Miss Marvel is a TV series, diba, on Disney Plus. The last episode aired on July, so that's a few months ago. And speaking of Disney Plus is coming to the Philippines on November 17. That's literally next month na. I don't have to use VPN anymore. Kapagod na kasi mag-VPN. Medyo mahal din. So, ngayon makakatipid-tipid na tayo, guys. So, yay! Disney Plus PH, everyone. Watch or rewatch Miss Marvel next month, you guys. If you guys have the chance to buy Disney Plus, please rewatch Miss Marvel because it's such an amazing TV series. And I really love Kamala, you guys. I really love her. So, anyway, Miss Marvel, real name Kamala Khan, is a huge Super People fan. She loves Captain Marvel. She runs a YouTube channel called Slot Baby Productions, which is so heartwarming for me kasi feeling ko I'm watching the MCU version of myself, diba? Taray, diba? But no, for real, Kamala Khan is a Captain Marvel content creator. Kind of like how I see myself as an MCU content creator, diba? Wow. Tara, you're... Nako, oh my god. Okay, so Kamala Khan is Pakistani American. She's Muslim. She lives in Jersey City. She actually lives close to Camp Lehigh in New Jersey. And we all know that Camp Lehigh is the base where Steve Rogers trained to be Captain America. It's basically the military training facility for Project Rebirth, which is basically Captain America. And also, Camp Lehigh is where the first annual New Jersey Avenger Con was held, which was pretty cool, might I say. To make the place extra special, that's where Kamala unlocked her superpowers as well, using a bangle. So Kamala Khan is a jinn. So in our world, bale, sa tunay na buhay, jinns are actually part of pre-Islamic folklore and are invisible creatures with extraordinary powers. As per Kamala, she's scared of jinns. She did say that in the show. She said that she's scared of jinns. May lahing jinn si Kamala kasi her great-grandmother Aisha is a jinn. Pero actually, Kamala and her family are not part jinn. So actually, hindi pala talaga siya jinn. They are actually part clandestines because Aisha is from the Nur dimension. Nur meaning light. So bale, tawag din sa mga people sa North Dimension are clandestines. Pero Aisha and her group were exiled to Earth. So ayun, back then kasi I think during pre-Islamic period, if they see you and you're not from here and you're powerful and you randomly landed in South Asia, they're going to think you're a jinn. So sabi nga ni Walid, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, Walid, siya yung member ng the Red Daggers in Miss Marvel. Sabi niya, if Thor landed in the Himalayan mountains, he too would have been called a jinn. So, gets yung point, di ba? So, bale, mapagkakamalang ka na lang na jinn kasi nga, hindi ka taga doon, tapos parang extraterrestrial ka pa. So, ganun yung nangyari sa clandestines. Hindi kasi sila taga dito. So, napagkamalan silang jinn. Kamala's powers are unlocked by using a special bangle that her great-grandma Aisha stole from a corpse in this weird tomb. So the tomb has these symbols of the 10 rings, yes, as in Shang-Chi 10 rings, and the bangle was found on this blue corpse, which is actually just an arm. So bali, there's this blue person's arm wearing the bangle in this 10 rings tomb. Which is crazy because parang iisa lang naman yung kilala natin na blue people in the MCU, di ba? Which are the Kree. The Kree people. As in like Captain Marvel Kree. Ronan is a Kree, you know. Like Kree are the people from the planet Hala. Moreover, may chika din regarding sa bangle ni Kamala. It kind of reminds us of the Ten Rings, like the way that they are designed and the looks of its hardware. Parang yung alahas na yon nanggaling sa same collection, gets ba? And of course, again, the tomb literally has the 10 rings symbol. So, ayun, the 10 rings and the bangle look pretty similar. So for sure, maybe the MCU is setting us up for something bigger. That's a good way to think about it. So, how does Kamala's powers work? So actually, let's talk a little bit of comic book background here. So again, uulitin ko lang po, if you're a new listener, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And yes, I am not a comic book reader. I didn't grow up reading the comics, so I do my background checks on the MCU characters through the internet and my handy dandy Marvel encyclopedia. Unfortunately, my 2006 Marvel Encyclopedia doesn't have Miss Marvel on it because she was actually introduced in 2013. So she's a fairly new character in the Marvel universe. In the comics, Kamala is actually an Inhuman. Her dormant Inhuman abilities were activated by the Terrigen Mists. So for those who aren't familiar with Inhumans, Black Bolt from the Multiverse of Madness is an Inhuman. So, sino si Black Bolt doon? Yung sinabi ni Wanda na, what mouth? Tapos, his brain literally just exploded. So, that's Black Bolt right there. That actor who played Black Bolt is also the same guy from the TV series Inhumans as well. So, that's one of the coolest facts in Multiverse of Madness. But I have to admit that I haven't watched Inhumans when I watched MOM. So, also, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they also had multiple Inhumans in that show. Anyway, Kamala's powers in the comics are best described as a combination of Ant-Man and Mr. Fantastic. So, she can go big or small and she can elongate her limbs. Although it's good to note that when she uses her body morphing superpowers, her body isn't symmetrical. Like, hindi siya pantay. Hindi pantay. Like, she can make her arms long, tapos yung fist malaki. Like, is that making sense? Also, Kamala can shapeshift into different people or even objects. So that's pretty cool for a superpower, right? She also has self-healing powers in the comics, di ba? Ang galing talaga. Go Kamala, go Kamala. Okay, so. Here's where it kind of gets funny, right? So, comic book writer and co-creator G. Willow Wilson said that they didn't make Kamala cinematic. Like, when they were making her powers in the comics, they didn't really think like, okay, dapat madali siya ma-adapt into film, ganon. Kasi sabi nga ni Willow, she's got very comic booky powers. So, it's really gonna be hard to put her into TV and film. Which I personally think it makes a lot of sense If you're an MCU fan, like you don't know anything from the comics, only the movies and the TV series, if you see someone who gets big and small, you think like, oh, that's like Ant-Man. If you see someone who's stretching their arms and legs and their body, you'd think like, oh, hey, that's like Mr. Fantastic, right? Fantastic Four, the leader, which is Reed Richards, right? Ganun yung maiisip mo. So I understand why the MCU must change how Kamala's powers are portrayed on screen. She still gets big and she can still stretch out, but it's not really her body anymore. She emits this hard light that she uses to make herself big and stretch her body. We have yet to see her shrink on screen, but hopefully the upcoming The Marvels movie, they'll show Kamala shrink. She also uses the hard light as some sort of like platform that she can step on, so she can basically walk quote unquote up in the air, if that makes sense. So basically, from body morphing abilities, they changed it into manipulating hard light powers. Now, that is not the only thing Marvel Studios changed on Kamala. I mentioned earlier that Kamala has inhuman heritage, which is pretty amazing because this might be the perfect time for Marvel Studios to introduce the Inhumans to the central MCU and all of that stuff. However, in the final episode of Miss Marvel, they hinted na they actually confirmed that Kamala is a mutant. Again, Kamala Khan is a mutant. They changed Kamala's superpower origin from inhuman to mutant. So that's a pretty big change, right? And I find it exciting. A lot of people do find it exciting. The reveal was pretty amazing to experience as well. I saw a lot of Instagram and Twitter mutuals who were shocked and excited to find out that Kamala is a mutant. When I watched the finale, I was like, wait, this is the first time they said the word mutation in the MCU. And why did they add that specific tone of sounds when Bruno, Kamala's friend, told her that she has a mutation? Turns out that specific tone of sounds was the X-Men the animated series theme. I only found out because I let the credits roll in the finale because I was like too shocked to pause the video and exit out on Disney Plus on my laptop. So dumating na lang yung credits for the music part. Tapos sa pa-double take ako na, wait, did I just read X-Men in this Miss Marvel credits? Ayun, so sobrang shooked ako. Sobrang shocked ako, sobrang shocked. Again, I didn't grow up watching the X-Men cartoons, so I didn't know what the sound was like. But then the term mutation was enough to hype me up, right? But I truly appreciate the people who DM'd me on Instagram na nagsabi na tuwan-tuwa sila when they heard the X-Men theme. So yun, nakakatuwa talaga guys. Oh my God. And I really appreciate you guys for DMing me, diba? So okay, anyway, what does this mean? First question, bakit hindi na lang mag-stick with the inhuman heritage? Personally, I think it would be hard to quote-unquote restart the Inhumans plotline in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I actually watched for the first time the Inhumans TV series, which was actually a fun watch din pala for me because it's actually set in Hawaii where I used to live. So every Hawaii location scene was like, oh my god, hey, I used to be there. I used to run around there. I used to live there and all of that. So it's pretty nostalgic. Wow, nostalgic talaga. But I do think that the first season of Inhumans was not really that great, which is also one of the reasons why they canceled that show. So sayang din kasi, the first season was really setting up the Inhumans royal family, and feeling ko they were supposed to answer some questions regarding the Inhumans on Earth. Kaso ngayon nga, hindi na sila nagka-second season. One season lang, medyo cliffhanger din yung ending nun. So ito pa, lalo na sa Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they have several plot lines involving Kree and the Inhumans. Again, I haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but when you visit the Inhumans MCU fandom wiki pages, you will mostly see Inhumans in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, as for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. naman, medyo nag-veer off na kasi sila. Yung storyline sila in the later seasons, nag-veer off na from the main MCU timeline. So I feel like Marvel Studios isn't really sure how to reel them back into our main MCU storyline. And of course, nadala na din nung Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yung Inhumans with them, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense, right? So, bale, if Kamala Khan did have Inhuman heritage in the MCU, that would have caused a big challenge for Marvel Studios to connect Kamala and the bigger MCU to Inhumans. Which is again going to be hard to figure out kasi nga, diba, si Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. nag-veer up tapos dinala ni Inhumans with them. And yeah, ang daming tanong that the Inhumans TV show didn't get to answer. So it's like, how do we fit Kamala's Inhuman heritage when the TV show didn't even have a second season, diba? And then the majority of Inhumans that did survive in the MCU, nasa Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. naman, which is a show that is like veering off from the main timeline. So ganon, and again, this is just my opinion ha. This is just my theory. Wow, theory talaga. Pero yeah, that's how I see it. So that's how I am trying to understand it in my brain. But if you guys have any thoughts about this, please let me know. Alam niyo naman ako, guys, you guys can still teach me. And we can do mental gymnastics as well. Although, I do have to admit, parang gagana naman yung Inhuman heritage kasi Miss Marvel is going to be close with Captain Marvel, which was under Kree rule for like a pretty long time. And then Miss Marvel's bangle came from a blue person's arm, which we think is the arm of a Kree person. So, but there's some type of way for MCU Kamala to connect to Inhumans through the Kree. But then yun nga, kapag Kamala na to mismo Inhumans connection, parang medyo challenging na talaga. Medyo mahirap na. Anyway, second question. Now that Kamala is confirmed as a mutant in the MCU, what does that mean for the franchise? Okay, this one is pretty super interesting. Pretty na nga super pa. Okay, this one is pretty interesting. Kasi, we all know that Disney bought 21st Century Fox in 2019. And 21st Century Fox owns the X-Men franchise, including Deadpool as well. So, bale, you know na, when it comes to like big acquisitions like this, automatic na, ibig sabihin nito, magagamit na yung X-Men characters in the MCU. And we all know that Ryan Reynolds did announce few weeks ago that Deadpool 3 is on the way. And our lovely Logan, the Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, is coming back for Deadpool 3. You know what? I'm not sure if I pronounced Hugh Jackman correctly. I'm not sure if it's huge or you. Wow, with Western names, I'm still struggling. Anyway. And yes, they did say that this Deadpool film is going to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This works because the X-Men franchise in Fox was actually happening in different timelines. So, bale, the X-Men franchise is not really as cohesive as our MCU, but X-Men are still successful because they get to play with different timeline versions of the same character. As for our Marvel Cinematic Universe, importante talaga yung pagiging cohesive, ano? So, how do we insert a non-cohesive franchise with a cohesive franchise? Loki, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness really opened the concept of multiverse in the MCU. In this way, pwede na natin isama ang X-Men sa MCU. Pero here's the thing. For now, we can't have any popular mutants in the main MCU timeline kasi the storylines wouldn't make sense. That's why we have Charles Xavier, Professor X in Earth 383 sa Multiverse of Madness, diba? So I guess we can say that for now, the X-Men and popular mutants can only exist in different universe. So I'm guessing that just to be safe, Deadpool 3 might be set in a different universe. But okay, saglit. What if yung plotline ng Deadpool 3 is like revamping or restarting the backstory of Wade and Logan para ma-fit sila sa main MCU timeline? This is also a big possibility because, hello, that's Deadpool and Wolverine right there. You wouldn't miss the chance to earn money and profit, lalo na kapag alam mong Deadpool and Wolverine with other MCU characters will bring in a lot of viewers and money, 'di ba? Napaka-business-minded ko na naman. Pero anyway, in terms of like storyline, I think that's the only way to make those two characters fit in the MCU. If you make a pretty low profile kind of storyline in the main timeline, then Deadpool and Wolverine can definitely exist in the main MCU timeline. As for Kamala's mutation, in the finale, Kamala dismissed the idea of mutation by saying it's just going to be another label. And we all know that the history of mutants in X-Men is that mutants are labeled as dangerous beings and stuff like that. If Wade and Logan are going to be low key in the main MCU timeline, then this can open up opportunities for storylines for Kamala to explore her mutant heritage, wherein she can meet people like Wade and Logan, and maybe our own MCU timeline has its own Charles Xavier. Again, this is how I see it. This is just my opinion. Or I guess this is a theory. If you guys have any thoughts as well regarding this part of the podcast episode, please don't hesitate to DM me. Because again, mag-mental gymnastics na naman tayo. And also, there's a debate going on whether Deadpool is a mutant or a mutate. I personally don't know yet because I haven't really researched Deadpool yet. But most posts would say that no, he's not a mutant. He's just really out here, always with X-Men. But yeah, we can definitely associate Deadpool with the X-Men. Kasi nga, ewan ko ba dun sa lalaking yun? Wow, hindi ko, ewan ko, I don't know. But yeah, Deadpool is always together with X-Men. So parang, it is very safe to say that we can very much associate this Deadpool with the X-Men. Anyway, yeah, Kamala Khan is a mutant, Miss Marvel is a mutant. She has a mutation that gave her the ability to conjure hard light and shapeshift. But why does she need a bangle to unlock her mutant abilities? This is going to be interesting because mutant and mutate actually have a huge difference, but it can be confusing at times. For example, yun nga, we have Deadpool, 'di ba? So bale, mutant means that you were born with the X gene, and that difference in your genetic makeup gives you superhuman abilities. For mutate naman, you were born a normal human being, but an external force changed your genetic makeup, giving you superhuman abilities. A good example of this is a radioactive spider and the super soldier serum, basically Spider Man and Captain America. So now we can say that Kamala Khan is born mutant. She was born with the X gene. Bruno checked her family's genetic makeup, and Kamala is the only one with such different genetics. Now, where did that come from? It is safe to assume that it's from Aisha, the clandestine great grandmother, but it's also safe to say that clandestine and human offsprings are just humans. We can see it with Kamala's mom and grandmother. Even Kamran is born human. Okay, just a quick side note, Kamran now has hard light powers as well. Although he can't really control it that much, I'd say that Kamran is a mutate because his mom gave or passed down the Noor dimension power to him. So he's born human, and then an external force, aka his mom, gave him powers. So Kamran is a mutate. For Kamala naman, I think, in my opinion, I think that clandestine and human family trees are bound to have a mutation down the line, if that makes sense. From what I've read, the X gene is an evolution ng genetic makeup ng normal human. So siguro for Kamala, yung clandestine genes niya helped evolve her human genes. Kaya yun, she was born with a mutation. Well, that's how I think of it, ha. I'm really trying to do mental gymnastics here. Again, na naman. Oh my god. I feel like every episode that I have, I'm always doing mental gymnastics, you know. Another thing is that in mutants, their powers manifest in puberty. But for Kamala, her powers manifested when she used a special bangle. So that's another question that the MCU has to answer, right? Because again, the 10 rings and bangle must be similar, so what does that mean? But yeah, it is, again, for me, it's safe to assume that those two jewelry, alahas talaga, are connected, diba? So yeah, there's really a lot to unpack here when it comes to Kamala's mutant background, mutation. I still feel weird about the bangle kasi, yun nga, sabi ko nga kanina, mutants, their powers manifest in puberty, but then Kamala is already a senior. So, she's like past puberty na siya. So, ano yun? Siguro late puberty na lang. Siguro. But actually, yeah. Pwede rin yun. Late lang din lumabas yung... O nga, no? Okay, ngayon ko lang na-realize yun. But then again, sa mutants kasi sa X-Men, parang natural lang siyang lumabas. Pero for Kamala, she had to use a bangle. So, what does that mean? What does the bangle mean? And why is it connected to her being a mutant? So yeah, marami talagang kailangan unpack here. And I feel like it's not just our job. Nako, Marvel Studios, if you're listening to this podcast. Wow. Pero yeah, but to finish off this episode, I really want to say that I'm excited to see Carol, Monica, and Kamala all get together sa The Marvels, which is set to come out July 2023. So yes, that is already next year. So let's see you guys. And also, isn't it like confirmed that Park Seo-joon is actually gonna be in this movie? So that's exciting. A K-drama actor in a Marvel Cinematic Universe film. That's amazing. And I think he's going to be the second Korean actor, I guess. Yeah, because the first one is, I'm so sorry, I forgot her name, but she's a scientist in Avengers Age of Ultron, right? She created the body of Ultron made from vibranium. So yeah, anyway, that's it for this episode. It's pretty short, right? Oh my god, I'm shook as well. I'm not talkative as much. But yes, as usual, I'm always on Instagram, so don't hesitate to discuss this episode with me. So siguro kaya hindi ako talkative this episode kasi lahat ng talkativeness ko mapupunta sa DMs natin. So please, you guys, do not hesitate to DM me. And yeah, talk to you guys soon. Bye! Thanks for listening to the Pinoy MCU Fan. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To connect with me, you can follow or message me on social media at the.PinoyMCUFan. The Pinoy MCU Fan is part of the Bunk Collective. Discover more podcasts at thebunkph.com and follow us on social media at thebunkph. That's it, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!